Hello, this is Gideon Emery, a.k.a. Balthier from Final Fantasy XII, telling you you're listening to the Raw Dogs podcast. And from this leading man, may you be the leading man in your own lives. Tune in, enjoy, farewell.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Raw Dogs. Raw Dogs episode number 112. Hi, I'm Brad, and I'm super excited for today.
My name is Dylan, and I didn't do a lot of research for this, but I have played the game, so here I am.
My name is Stoy, and I haven't thought about this game in years either.
You know, but that's okay, because we're doing something a little different today. We're doing like an overview episode before we finish the game. So I know I'm almost through my current playthrough, but I couldn't wait.
How many hours?
I was at, I want to say 32 hours, but now I'm technically at like 48 because they've been auto leveling all week.
Really?
In the meantime, so I'll just like pop it on for a couple hours. The Switch does get very hot when it's at four times speed. Final Fantasy XII.
Yeah,
that fan's like, fuck you, bro.
It's amazing what a Android card from 2017 can do still, though.
Yeah, but
So do you just like leave them in an open area, then just have them battle it out, like with the Gambit system or something? Or?
There is a specific spot where they infinitely spawn jellies, and
just walk away and just...
I just walk away, and they set it to 4 times, and they mostly are fine playing with themselves.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm almost through my playthrough. I'm at the very end, and I got to the point where, all right, I want to go do the side quest stuff, and I can't be bothered to struggle. So I'm like, let's just auto level and get through it. But yes, this is, spoiler warning, I think my favorite Final Fantasy game.
I think you've said that before.
Big fan of 12. So that's where I'm at. When was the last time you guys have played this?
I played this during Pandemio.
You did?
I did play this during Pandemic.
Okay.
I have it on the Switch. It's really hard to dust that thing off. But I had a good time with it. I had never beat it all the way through. Infamously, I didn't really own a PlayStation 2 until much later. And at that point, I was more interested in HD.
Yeah.
So when Zodiac Age came out, I was always kind of, on the fence about it. Always saw it in the shop. It goes on sale very frequently. And so one day I was just literally doing nothing except getting high all day during the pandemic. And I said, let's dig in. So I did. And I really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. It's really good.
It was I played it when it first came out on the PlayStation 2, and I was just kind of enthralled with how mature of a storyline it was compared to 10. And I'm not knocking 10 at all because I'm in company that absolutely loves 10.
Mm-hmm. 10's a little different.
Yeah.
10 is a nice shiny hallway.
And the contrast between the two in terms of like storyline and even just like the characters was like definitely like, oh man, it was kind of I hate to say it, it sounds like I'm saying it in a bad way, but it was like a breath of fresh air because I think that's what I wanted out of Final Fantasy. I wanted something a little bit more mature, something a little bit more like, it's a very politically charged game. So I think at that time I was like, I'm in on all of this.
It respects your intelligence in a cool way.
Yes, it does.
It doesn't try and like baby things down for you.
Yeah. There's so many political intricacies in this story that I was actually reading the guide at the same time and trying to actually like, learn about the characters, learn about the lore, learn about, all the different, groups and races and people in it. Like I was invested when it came out. But yeah, I want to say 70 hours. Just because like I was auto leveling. I was, just basically I would just like get into an area, put it on the Gambit system, and then my guys would just kind of randomly.
It's very fun.
It is.
It's very fun watching your team work.
Yep.
And I think the Gambit system scared a lot of people. To me, though, I found it so exciting to be able to just and the open field, seeing enemies running up to them, which we'll get into, caused a lot of problems as well.
It's pretty interesting. It's definitely a more focused story, I would say. I was introduced to the world of Ivalice through Final Fantasy Tactics Advance.
That was your first Ivalice game, huh?
That was my first Ivalice game.
Interesting. That's an odd one.
But I was familiar with all the races. I knew everyone. I was just like, oh, hell yeah, this rules.
Yeah.
By the way, that's just a fantastic video game on its own if you've never played it.
Yeah.
Have any of you guys played Revenant Wings for the DS? It's like a tactical RPG.
It's a sequel, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
When it used to be weird that Final Fantasy games got sequels.
Yeah, I know.
Well, it's also
not 10 novellas.
It's a pre-established world, and they were almost trying to do their own like history. They were trying to boost like this is kind of its own thing. Like what's it? The Ivalice Alliance.
The Ivalice Alliance.
Yeah.
You got the Tactics games, Final Fantasy XII, and Vagrant Story.
Final Fantasy Tactics A2, the sequel.
Yep.
To Advance, is really fucking good.
And
there,
there exists lingering rumors and leaks that Tactics is getting a remaster. Final Fantasy Tactics, the OG.
It needs it really bad.
There's no reason not to. That is the rare recommendation. Like, get that for your iPad because that is such an iPad game.
It's
like
perfect.
if you have a pen to touch the little squares.
Mm-hmm. That's how I played through it recently. That game's a little harder to manage than the Advance series because I don't know. My brain just when you get that grid system. How it looks even in the War of the Lions like remake, I'm still kind of like I'm not really seeing how I'm doing this, and it feels clunky to me. But I love the world of Ivalice.
Certain games, Final Fantasy XII to an extent, but also Tactics to a much bigger extent, it's impossible to balance when you get to the later parts of the game because you have so many jobs, so many different abilities, and if you know how to exploit them, the game can become completely broken. Which is some of the fun of Final Fantasy Tactics is getting to that point where you just are mopping entire battlefields really quick. So Final Fantasy XII is such a black sheep. It sticks out in a big way. Yeah. Development began in December of 2000, headed by Final Fantasy Tactics director Yasumi Matsuno and Hiroyuki Ito. Matsuno, director and designer of Tactics Ogre, Let Us Cling Together, and Reborn in 2022.
I played some of those.
I know Luigi on the Discord, huge fan of
Tactics Ogre,
of all the Tactics Ogre games.
They just came out with a remake on the Switch.
Yep.
About a year or two ago.
I think that's Reborn.
It's Reborn, yeah.
Director and writer for Tactics and Vagrant Story and producer of Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. And then Hiroyuki Ito, director and designer of the game. He did the battle design for Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6. He's been involved with Final Fantasy since 1988, so since I was born. Active time battle system was similarly inspired. He says his primary inspiration to his battle systems is professional sports, which is interesting. I don't know, roles and positioning, and if this guy does that, you're supposed to do this.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
I like that.
I mean, if I could...
Did he play a lot of Madden at the time?
Probably. Yeah. I would imagine. I mean, if you could put gambits on your players as a coach, they would probably perform a lot better.
That's actually kind of a really smart idea.
Yeah, we're onto something, boys.
Fantasy football players would go nuts for that type of shit.
Yeah.
Honestly, let's cut this out. I'm just kidding.
Who's got a pen and paper? Come on,
let's get going.
And he also said the ATB system was similarly inspired by Formula One, as Ito had the idea to give characters different speed values after seeing a race in which the cars passed each other. And he says the monsters in Final Fantasy IV and the Gambit system in 12 resemble aspects of the NFL and that their actions are based on the most likely outcome of a specific situation.
No, I don't quite understand that with Final Fantasy IV because there's not really an auto battle to that.
I think it's more about like percentages and likelihood when you have a slime go up against these three characters, three jobs, maybe.
I think that makes sense. It's Final Fantasy IV is like what I would describe as like bare bones Final Fantasy, but in a very good way. A lot of the chuff is kind of cut out, maybe alongside complexity, but
I think 4 is one of the only ones I haven't beaten.
It rules.
I don't think I've even touched it, honestly.
Do you want to borrow the? I have the DS remake of it.
Dylan, stop. I'm supposed to play Control. I'm supposed to play
I know.
Ghost
You
of Tsushima.
played
I'm supposed to play Metaphor Refantasio because apparently that game is the fucking bomb.
It's the best Shin Megami Tensei game.
It's actually gotten me around. I am not a Persona fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, or a Shin Megami fan.
Are you enjoying your time with it?
I am enjoying my time with Metaphor so much.
Yes, it is.
And why does that battle music hit so hard?
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, it's so good.
Of course.
So yes, Dylan, I can't play more games.
No, I understand.
Plus I'm supposed to work in my career, which I'm totally over.
Time to quit.
Yeah.
Time to quit.
I love my job, but I just would prefer to have a million hours of free time.
Yeah, don't work.
Well, you know. Yeah, don't work.
Don't work.
Become destitute.
Yeah.
For Final Fantasy V,
Plenty of people do it.
Yeah.
For
There was
Final-
a nice man picking up cans the other day. He was doing pretty well.
I need to get some.
Some money doing it.
Can you get video game stamps as well as food stamps?
No.
maybe they'll give you V-Bucks.
Okay.
Maybe.
I'll work on something.
Yeah.
It's possible.
For Final Fantasy V, Ito designed the fully customizable job system.
Yeah, lovely.
Jobs are... It's a weird thing about Final Fantasy games. They're either... The integration is always like kind of varied. Is the... What do you want your job to define your character? Do you want like Butts to be a thief? Or Bartz, however you want to say it. Like, do you want Terra to be a summoner?
I keep going with butts. I refuse to use anything other than butts.
Yeah, but do you want like the character to be informed by their job, or do you want to be able to veer from that?
That's always interesting. There's usually, based on stats alone, oftentimes characters, they want you to use certain classes with them. But then you can gain like abilities by leveling up in other classes that you can then transfer over, which is the most interesting part.
The subclass.
Exactly. That's the way to break the game. It's so good.
And it's also a way to where it can be a little easier on you when you make a decision. Yep, I want a white mage, but I don't want them to just be strictly magic based.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part because like in the beginning, it can be overwhelming for newer players. It's like, well, you want to, it takes a lot of time to really dedicate to leveling up, the job system and the jobs for those particular characters. And if you decide to change your mind halfway through, it's almost overwhelming to be like, well, I don't want to start completely over again.
Right.
So it's a lot, at least for me, that was my first experience with the job, like really delving into a job system and like, well, who do I want my character to be? Who do I want them to identify as a job, so to speak? So,
Well, and the great thing about especially like Final Fantasy games in comparison to where I'm playing Metaphor right now, there's like almost unlimited time you can go out there and grind things back up if you really need to level up a certain job or class.
yeah.
Whereas with Metaphor, it's very much like you better figure this out pretty quick because you're going to have so many of these classes and so many things to transfer over, and you're limited by time. Quite literally, it's the calendar system from Persona. But Final Fantasy is much more forgiving. I would argue it's, as a series as a whole, it's much more forgiving than even, say, Dragon Quest.
So you were saying the first Final Fantasy 12 you played was the Zodiac Age.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a different perspective on because it's wildly different than
I
the
looked
original.
it all up, yeah.
Just there's a profound increase of like number of license squares, so armors, weapons. It's very different, but I mean, Fran has a bow. She's supposed to have a bow. Balthier should have a handgun. That's just like their character design. So when I put a samurai sword in Balthier's hands, I like it, but it is kind of clashes with what the story's telling.
Right. Yeah. But at the same time, I feel like the game does want you to experiment in that way. Because in the cutscenes, you'll see him with the gun, but then when you're playing, you'll see him with the sword. And I understand that you might have like a vision for these characters, but I don't know. Only so much you can do.
I think my biggest disappointment in this entire game is that the weapons change. You see them. The armor doesn't. I wish that when you put on a different helmet or shirt or whatever, the characters wearing the different outfits would look cool.
Well, the character designer put in a lot of great work in this game.
Yeah.
Everything feels very cultural.
Ito is the director on Final Fantasy VI, game design and battle system planner for Tactics, battle system design for Final Fantasy VIII and Final Fantasy IX.
Oh, that's why I like it. I love 8.
I love 8.
He's low key like the creation of all of the battle systems since like Final Fantasy IV, like heavily involved. Ito is, I think, my favorite person involved besides maybe Uematsu.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sakaguchi's great. I think that he kind of stretched his wings as far as they went back at like, Final Fantasy IX.
I think he's kind of stagnant. I don't know if anyone has played
That one that's coming out again.
Yeah, I played it on the iPad. I really enjoyed my time with it, but it's also very rudimentary, and when you played Blue Dragon, and you were like, oh my god, he's just doing Dragon Quest, and then when you played
Especially
Lost
because
Odyssey,
they have, who is the Dragon Ball? It's Toriyama.
that was Toriyama was the yeah.
So
So it kind of like overlaps. I think that Lost Odyssey is the better of those two.
I liked Lost Odyssey back
I
when
love
played
Lost
it.
Odyssey, yeah.
Lost Odyssey is a ton of fun.
Yeah.
If you can get me to sit there and read poems and those interludes,
That was my favorite part.
Yeah, I like that a lot
Yeah,
too
if you
because
can do
the
it.
way that they use the words to like tell parts of the story.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I can definitely, understand how some people are just turned off by that.
it harkens to a more simple era. I think he's a bit more of a design philosophy that says like everyone's welcome. I don't want to turn anyone away. So make it as easy as you can without being demeaning.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
He's also the director of Final Fantasy IX, a director on that, and it was his idea to have Zidane be a big flirt, which
That's cool.
one of his best aspects.
Yeah.
Afterwards, involved in the further iterations and some GBA ports of all of these, battle design for Guardian Cross, some mobile card game, and director of Dungeon Encounters 2021, a Switch puzzle explorer RPG.
Jesus Christ, what?
What the heck?
Hard times.
Okay.
I don't know what happened. I think maybe
Trying something new.
I think 12 wasn't the success that Square wanted. And when that happens, they kind of put you in the...
But that was like 16 years ago.
Yeah, he wasn't involved in video games until like recently again. So,
Really? So-
he was out of it for a while. I don't know what happened, but
I can understand at the time, it was a culture shock. Like I said, the difference between 10 and 11 was becoming popular because that's when online multiplayer was kind of becoming a thing. And then 12 comes out that
I
really...
didn't know anyone who played 11 though. That's
I
the
didn't
huge
need... Well,
thing.
no one had broadband internet at the
my
time.
brother played the fuck out of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
No shit.
I think he's playing it again with Frank.
Really?
Yep,
That's
from
crazy.
Super RPG Friends. They're doing Final Fantasy 11. I want to say for part of their stream, but you have to like find servers to go to now.
Yeah,
my
because
God,
that's fan run now.
Brian, I know you're listening. Tell us in the Discord about what's going on.
That's also it's also very interesting to me too that they made an MMO have a number.
Well, at this point, we'll get into it, but PlayStation 1, you could crank out a whole game in a year or two.
Which is insane considering how high quality those games actually are and still hold up in so many ways.
But
Yeah.
the moment you start adding those polygons and like the PS2, 10 took a long time. And then everything just starts like one delay pushes all the other games back, pushes all the other games back.
Well, that's interesting too. I kind of yearned for like painted backgrounds that you walk your character through. There's something about that I think should return.
Yeah. There's a painterly aspect to it where it's like Final Fantasy VII, some of those, you got your super blocky little dude and this like gorgeous thing painted in the background with some moving elements.
Pure mood.
It always works.
It's all vibes. That's why those PlayStation 1 Final Fantasies are so interesting and beautiful.
Well, that's how Resident Evil Remake for the GameCube works as well.
Yeah.
Because that's just like some pre-rendered like painting stuff
yeah.
on the background. And it's just the way that they move the character through it, which is really wild.
Yeah. That's one thing I wish they spent a little bit more time on Chrono Cross, the Radical Dreamers edition, the remake or remaster, whatever you want to call it.
I haven't played it. Did you enjoy your time?
I did. I was longing for a little bit more work in the backgrounds, like you were talking about, because the characters are super detailed, 60 frames a second, whatever. But the backgrounds still were like, they didn't touch it for some reason. So you have this huge contrast between the high definition character and then the watercolor background that's kind of still a little low poly that I wish they just maybe touched up a little bit.
Up to the res a bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
I wonder if they still have some of those assets, and that's my biggest question. Maybe they just didn't have it.
Yeah, or, I mean, admittedly, it's not like, people were hitting the forums begging for a Chrono Cross remaster, so, maybe they didn't have the budget or they didn't have the time or the resources to, go through all that.
Do you think the reason that they haven't, like, truly remastered Chrono Trigger since the DS is because they think the DS one is kind of like the shit?
I don't know, but they also know that whenever they do anything with it, it's gonna pop off. It's gonna be massive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's like Earthbound. I don't know. They're holding an atom bomb in their back pocket. If they say Switch 2, Earthbound remake day 1. Like, that'll do a lot for some people anyways. I don't think it'll be a system seller, but it'll be a system seller for you.
Oh, well, I mean, Switch 2 is a
given anyways.
It's a given. But I would love for people to get a little more creative with these remakes. Like, you know how, like, in the manual for Earthbound, it has these really beautiful, like, little clay figures?
I think I'm so tired of remakes and remasters right now. I don't know. They're a dime a dozen, and they're less and less interesting the more they do it.
Yeah.
But if there were a way to pull me in, Earthbound with like the clay figures and clay backgrounds, that would just absolutely like blow me away.
All the Final Fantasy Super Nintendo like ports and remasters, like the new ones, what is it? The
pixel
remaster?
Yeah.
Like just the new text boxes look garbage to me. They look mobily. And I preferred that classic SNES, like,
I prefer it too.
The scan lines, everything looks better about it.
That's why just a simple port. That's why just a simple port is just fine. You know, just port it. You don't need to touch it. You don't need to do anything else. Just port it over to new hardware in its original state.
Give me a 4K original Star Wars with all of the blemishes.
Yeah.
Honestly, that would roll too.
Slap harder.
Yeah.
Oh my God, playing you remember the age of full motion video games?
Yes.
Star Wars Rebel Assault 2. Trying to play that on the PlayStation, Spartacus. I got to use that language here.
Yeah.
But like, trying to play that on my PS5 on my 4K TV. Woo.
It's rough shit.
It's rough. Well, but I'm grateful it's there.
Well, all those pixel games looked really great on a tube TV because you had all those lines and things had to mesh and everything was kind of centered around that idea. Mm-hmm. So art could get pretty crazy and it would look really good because it's basically blending itself.
Yeah.
So when they just port it over, it does look like doggy doo-doo. So you're kind of balancing two sides of a scale, and I don't think you win on either side.
Yeah.
Timeline for Square Enix in the 2000s, because a lot happens and it fucks up everyone. Hironobu Sakaguchi spearheads The Spirits Within.
Yay! A movie I kind of like.
Oh, okay.
I want to do a Popcorn Dogs on it, but it bombs. In 2001, he resigns and is kept on as an executive producer. For 3 years, he sits and does nothing.
Hey, get paid,
collecting
Daddy.
a paycheck.
Well, they didn't want him going anywhere else, and they didn't want him touching anything. It was punishment. But he leaves Square in 2003, forms Mistwalker in 2004. Many team members leave Square to go join him there. Matsuno reportedly was very temperamental and refused to come to work for over a month after part of the Final Fantasy XII team leaves Square Enix to join Mistwalker.
Wow.
So
drama.
I didn't realize it was that bad.
So 12 has been in development for 5 years at this point, and then team members start jumping ship.
Well, didn't it come out in 2005? Or did it come? It came out in 2006. That's when it was.
Yeah. then, yes, mid 2005, Matsuno leaves the company due to an illness.
Overwork. That does happen.
Yeah.
It does happen. But Hiroyuki Ito was appointed as the director of the game. At 100%, he's in charge. As well as Hiroshi Minagawa, a new director added to join him. Art director for Tactics, Vagrant Story, Tactics Advance. Director of Tactics, Ogre, Let Us Cling Together.
Vagrant Story, underappreciated hit.
I think anyone who's played it has strong feelings about it. Yeah.
Have you played it?
No, we had it. I think my brother played it, but I didn't play it as a kid. I think the battle system for my child brain wasn't.
Yeah, it's
ready.
really it's fucking obtuse. That's putting it lightly. Once you figure out what you're doing, though, you can really it's a dungeon crawler. You know.
Yeah, small room after small room after small room after small room.
Yeah.
And sometimes I only got a couple hours in because I think I was expecting something a little bit more grander and not something small. So dungeon crawler-esque where it's just but
Yeah. World design for 12. Matsuno provided the original concept and plot. Design inspiration comes from a mix of medieval Mediterranean countries. Art directors Hideo Minaba and Isamu Kamko-Kurio visited Turkey to help design the setting. Styles and decos were also borrowed from India and New York City. In the city of Bujerba, Sanskrit is used. Phrases such as Svagatam means welcome and Parajana means guide, lifted directly from Sanskrit.
Nice.
neat.
And cutscene battles are influenced by ancient Rome, apparently. Character design. Originally, they were considering using big-headed characters from previous games. Fucking glad they didn't.
Yeah, I'll say.
These character models, all gorgeous, all beautiful to look at, even on the PS2 with the Jaggies, just like...
You mean ones from other Ivalice games?
We're talking about 12 specifically, but I mean,
Right,
it's the same
Well,
creators.
yeah,
so.
Revenant Wings had big heads and small bodies.
That's I think maybe a contrivance of the system it was on.
It has to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was definitely a little bit more cartoony, a little bit more campy than the original.
I'm glad that it continued in the style of 10 though, with realistic body proportions and an 8 as well.
Yeah, that's true. I do like what 9 did because everything looks like an illustration.
But it was meant to be like a throwback too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that though.
Yeah. For 12 though, I think it just kind of feels right. And it's kind of one of, I think, the first times where cities feel busy and lived in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because they'll do like those big sweeping shots whenever you enter a new zone, and it's like the size of New York City when you go to Arcades, but you only get access to a small limited part of the map. And I think it's an effective way because that part of the map is also populated with fucking characters.
Yeah, and it does a lot for immersion. Creating a world that looks busy is something that a lot of JRPGs have trouble dealing with. Good example is Metaphor.
Just gonna say that.
You hear people talking off to the side, and you can't avoid those conversations. You just hear them.
Yeah.
And but you move through the streets. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I really had a point with what I was saying, but
No, yeah, I mean, you could sense the vibe of the city,
Yes.
with those moments because especially in Metaphor, for example, the game has heavy racist connotations, so you can actually hear what people are saying about you just by walking by, or you hear them talk about other people and other groups and races and stuff. So you can definitely get the vibe of a city, and what are they dealing with? What's the current census of whatever's happening in the world at the time. So
To compare it to another Final Fantasy game, it's one of the, I think, problems I have with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is when you're walking through a busy city, there's a million dialogues that pop in loud.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think
that chat box on the right, it's just flowing. I turned that off.
when you walk through the mall, if you're in a mall, busy spot, a lot of people talking. I also don't.
You just hear
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't
hush tone.
I don't hear 10 dialogues full volume. I don't know. There should be like a hush thing until you get closer, interact with somebody. I don't know, but I think 12 is very effective at making the cities feel lived in.
Hard agree.
Marketplaces look like marketplaces. There's actually customers and people flowing through and vendors. And
Can we
Really
also say how varietal the NPC designs are in this?
I got some great numbers we'll get to
Oh,
later.
please,
about,
But that's something I wanted to shout out because a lot of times you'll see standard man, standard fat man,
Also,
standard woman,
I
standard old lady.
this isn't like completely free of numerification. He wasn't involved, but some of the characters' outfits, man.
Yeah.
I know we're not doing Dogcast Fashion Week yet, but I mean, Vaughn's tiny little vest that he got off of a stuffed animal from a kid's store, and Ash is wearing a dinner napkin on her front and her back, and it's a tiny dinner napkin. And I'm like, there's practicality at some point.
Well, I mean,
but Balthier's got the most drip.
Oh,
I've
yeah,
ever
he does.
seen.
Oh,
I mean,
100%.
But Fran is ooh la la.
Well, and also I'm like, Fran, those high heels, you're thriving right now, but I'm worried about you.
She's a big rabbit lady, you know.
Yeah.
She can do anything.
She can.
Yeah, she's got the dexterity.
Yeah, Bosch.
Long legs.
Bosch was the first character designed and was considered the hero.
Yeah,
Vaughn and Penello were famously added last in the final version of the plot. You need to have a young boy with a pretty face who is that classic JRPG protagonist.
He's also the insert. You've got to have kind of a cipher for people. That used
a
to
Luke
be
Skywalker.
Yeah,
I mean, Han Solo wouldn't be nearly as cool if you weren't spending time with Luke first, and then you're like, look at this fucking guy.
this guy shoots.
Well,
Luke is ineffective, and Han just comes and like whatever, shoots a dude, and then like kisses your lady. Come on.
Wasn't the Star Wars universe a heavy influence on this story?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Apparently not.
That can't
Or
be.
it wasn't cognizant, but it is 100%. You put the side by side things, and
Yeah, because I heard so many different like real.
I mean, if Chewbacca was a hot bunny lady,
yeah, and Balthier was Han Solo, and Vaughn was Luke Skywalker, obviously from the first Star Wars movie. But
Yeah, I used to hear kids in high school be like, you know, I like the game, but it's just Star Wars. I'm like, doesn't that sound kind of cool?
medieval Star Wars.
oh, did you read that from a game magazine, bro?
Yeah.
Electronic Gaming Monthly.
Ever have
I read it
opinions
too.
of your own? Asshole.
I was that kid. Developers were motivated by the commercial failure of Vagrant Story, which featured a strong man in his prime, and they switched the focus
Named
to it.
Ashley.
It's a tough sell.
Yeah, a little bit.
Just call him Ash.
Yeah.
Well, then they have the female Ash in this game.
Yeah.
Exploration, third person with a controlled camera. In towns, you can only have Vaughn's perspective, but any character can be controlled in the field. To me, that's a bit of a disappointment, because as soon as I can not be Vaughn, I am almost anyone else other than Penello. Prefer to be Balthier or, I mean, Fran, Ash, and Bosch. I'm cool with all of them.
Well, it doesn't help that he's also like pulling your weight within the party. He doesn't really do that much, especially in my playthrough.
The characters do a lot of stagnation, and when you guys do the replay, when you get to that point, Vaughn is great for the first act. He has a lot of motivations, and after that, him and Penello there's like one cut scene sometimes of Vaughn saying, "Oh, look, it's water." And Penello's like, "Vaughn." And then Bosch is like, "We must save Arcades right now."
We must save our kingdom.
And Balthi's like, "My father is an evil man." And Vaughn's like, "Wow, is that a penny?" It's like their characters don't do much evolving, which is okay because I mean, it's the story is the main character. It's like the political intrigue is what's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Vaughn always just feels like
He's a tool. He's just a tool.
I don't know. If he had like some Luke Skywalker arc where maybe he realized something important and he does this big saving moment, maybe he does. I haven't finished the game on my current playthrough, but I don't remember Vaughn ever becoming a cool dude.
No.
At least Penello is really good with magic.
Well, I mean, anyone can be good with magic.
I know, but like it feels like she's more suited to it almost.
I think she was a more, she could have been the protagonist, but Vaughn just kept interjecting himself as being like this overprotective brother of just like, I gotta protect my sister. It's like, she doesn't need your protection, bro. Like, what do you have? And like, there is no, unfortunately, Luke Skywalker moment for Vaughn. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
I should have started by saying spoiler alert.
I think
Sorry.
The problem is though, Ash, Balthier, and Bosch are all so compelling that if a single one of them was the main character, it might detract from the other one, and it's better to be on the sideline looking at how cool they are.
Yeah. It gives them more flavor when you're seeing it from an outside source. You know that that Vaughn's just going to be the bratty kid the entire time, which you can either get over or, I mean, I don't know. I don't remember. How old is Vaughn supposed to be?
17, I thought, right?
17. He looks like he's 12.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
Captain Bosch is 36, so we are all Bosch right now.
Oh, fuck, that rules.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. How old is Balthier?
Balthier's
He's
20
like
something.
28, something like that.
Fran, famously very old. And Vaughn's like, how old are you? And everyone's like, Vaughn, dude.
And she's like 842.
But she has that
Oh, a MILF.
super unique accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even do it.
Well, I was thinking about trying to get the localization director as a guest because I'd have a lot of questions because he's the one who like recorded with the actors and did a lot of the decisions. But
It's a very distinct voice.
Yep.
Kind of soft but forward. It's really cool.
the economy, enemies do not drop gil in this game. Beautiful. Enemies shouldn't drop gil unless they're humans,
Yeah, I
humanoids.
Yep.
But there's the loot system, so every enemy has a potential to drop different kinds of loot. You
That
sell
you
them.
can sell. Yeah. That's actually way cooler. It puts like, because there's a bounty system in this, and I really like the bounty system because it feels video games are predicated on the idea that you're performing a task, and having something so straightforward as go here and kill the thing,
Yeah.
and have that be a part of the story and kind of like the whole flavor of the game in general. I love it.
I love that the clan with Mont Blanc from Final Fantasy Tactics, which I need to look into more because how
Mont
is he
Blanc
there?
is cool.
There's a very different time frame for him to still be hanging around, but
It also makes no sense with like the card system and the judges. But
the hunts are cool because they start off like this bunny stole my stuff, and then eventually it ramps up to I have a pet Marlboro and he escaped, and I need you to put him down because he's dangerous. And then at the like near the later one, some guy's like, I'm getting haunted by like a multidimensional ghost, and it's in the most dangerous place in the in the world. I can't go for obvious reasons. Can you go prevent me from having nightmares that are going to kill me? I'm like, dude, you have a problem, dude.
Yeah.
how did you get to this point?
Does he appear in your dreams like I am in the Paramina Rift?
Yeah.
Sounds like you need help, my guy.
Yeah. Thank God you're here. You saw my help ad on the news board. Slaying multiple enemies of the same type in a row increases the quality of loot drops if you want to go farming. The active dimension battle system. A desire to move away from random encounters was present since the beginning. The active dimension battle moves from battle to exploration seamlessly. Despite the various struggles in making the game, the final product does closely resemble the original vision. Commands are, attacks, magics, techniques, mist, gambits, and items. So, the gambit system. It's fantastic. I wish I had this option for Final Fantasy VII, the remakes, for your other two party members,
But they want you to switch between them. Which
admittedly I would forget every time in Rebirth.
I actually did very well in Rebirth because of that. But
partially came from a desire to create a single-player online game where the player would have independently acting party members who would still perform the way the player wanted them to. And the Gambit system works on the same basic programming algorithms used for the monsters in the Super Nintendo Final Fantasy games.
Jesus.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Lowest HP enemy attack. If your HP drops below 30%,
Automatically use a potion.
Use
yeah.
a potion.
Yeah.
When I can't believe I didn't. It seems so obvious when you read it, but it's amazing I didn't think of it like that. It is that same concept, though.
It is.
And it's enemies, famously in RPGs, they have fucking 4 gambits generally.
Yeah.
With a level of added level of randomness as well. But properly conceived gambits for enemies yield the best battle experience.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting when you will like put poison on an enemy and the enemy will take a turn healing themselves of that. I just think it's really interesting.
Or an enemy knows to get you covered in oil or turn you undead and then they heal you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I love that shit in Final Fantasy X.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fuck you, Unalesca.
Yeah.
It's like game programming. when you think about it, like you can get really lost in the weeds of like, meticulously crafting gambits for every one of your character. And like I said, it's like you're almost like game programming 101 of just like, okay, every time the party drops below 30% or something like that, use auto cure, like all cure or something like that, whatever.
You're basically forming your own like mechanism, your own Rube Goldberg device. And that's probably what's most attractive, because there's nothing cooler than building something really complex and then like setting it off and then it works.
Yeah. When you can just leave your run your party up to enemies and just see them perfectly function. Yeah. But then also you get thrown in a loop where, oh shit, Bosch is confused. I don't have a way to fix this. So you go into your gambits and do a little tweaking.
Yeah.
I wish the gambits were introduced possibly a little earlier, because like the first 8 hours of the game, they don't really give you a ton of gambits to do.
Yeah.
I would argue the most boring part of the game is its opening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Aside from being introduced to different places and different like characters. Otherwise, I don't know.
Yeah, the game really doesn't open up until like 10 hours in.
It does have a good opening, other than, Vaughn needing to collect sunstones. But very quickly, he's breaking into a palace to go steal a treasure, and you run into a lot of your characters very quickly.
Yeah.
The pace does pick up, but no, there is bullshit. Collect sunstones, find Pinello, talk to Dallin.
That can really wear down on you.
My patience is gone.
It's so funny. I'm at this point in Metaphor, no spoilers, obviously, but there is an extremely long dungeon. I'm at about 50% of the way through the game, and they want you to get this dungeon done over several of the in-game days, essentially. And I was just like, no, I'm just gonna fucking do it. And it was maybe the worst decision of my life, because this dungeon alone took me 4 hours to beat.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fucking. I was at a certain point. I'm like, is it now? Am I going to face the boss now? No. Oh, there's another floor.
I think there's something to be said though about longer dungeons rather than a million mini dungeons.
Yeah, I mean, I like a mix.
Yeah.
I mean, this game does actually a pretty damn good job of that, I would say. So.
Yeah.
The dungeons feel huge. Yeah.
The Mist system. So, summoning magic after defeating an Esper, they're available in the license board. In the Zodiac versions, they will actually block certain paths for jobs. So, you can't get certain spells or items unlocked without a certain Esper. So, you have to choose, do I want Balthier to get Kiraga, or do I want Fran to get a black magic spell or whatever?
That's also a way of kind of gating off, like, breaking the system. Yeah.
It's cool.
It is cool. It's a good thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
The Espers we acquire were created by the Acuria. These are the creations that were then spurned for rebelling. We'll talk about the histories. Quickenings, I'm not fond of. This is limit breaks. Each character gets 3 quickenings that can then be chained. If a mischain reaches a certain length, a final strike will be initiated, called a concurrence. Mischarge is an option allowing you to restore the charges to full for more chaining.
Did they really need it to be that complex?
Just have it be a fucking move.
Right.
Yeah, just one move, man. Yeah. It's like, I don't know, man. Just do a super cool flip in the air with your sword or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I think, the worst part of the combat system for me.
Yeah.
They look fine the first time you see them. What it is Kingdom Hearts 3 like amusement parks. It just becomes this long bullshit. And if it's a boss that's tough, I'm going to save my quickenings. So what I wind up doing is a boss battle, instead of being this beautiful tactical show, instead it's me looking at like 2 different quickening chains of 15 things.
Yeah.
And it just reminded me of the amusement park rides in Kingdom Hearts 3 in the worst way.
Oh yeah. You're not actually doing anything.
You're just like square.
Or like moving the
mischarge.
analog back and forth.
You don't even get to do that.
Oh, you're right.
No, it just cycles. Like you choose move, and then
I thought there was a little more to it.
It's super dumb, horrible. Yeah, the license board was created by Ito with the intention to give the player much freedom in developing characters to their liking. A natural extension of the rigid, structured society of Arcadia, as epitomized by its judges. I think I was super worried about the Zodiac Age because you're given different license boards for each character. In the first one, it's like everyone has the exact same sphere grid to start out with. Mm-hmm. And then what happens is generally all my characters have the exact same moves, unless you're only allowed one weapon of something. But they would have the same gambits, a lot of them. Like this person could be a healer, but also that person could be a healer. And
so I guess I haven't. I know I maybe got through a couple hours of the Zodiac Age, but I guess is it really that much different compared to the original? Like from what you're describing?
Yes.
Okay.
100% different.
All right.
And there's more. They added a lot of different weapons and armors as well because
this is going to be interesting.
If you're a white mage, you're only allowed this type of armor,
right?
Instead of every armor is unlocked for every character, every weapon's unlocked for every character.
Mm-hmm. Do you know the reasoning as to why this was done? I do not.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit, but
foreshadowing.
The first, the original license board, it was meant to give you freedom, but what it did was, if everyone's the same, no one's unique. Yeah. And if you're forced to have a character be a time battle mage, then their weapon selection is going to be different. Guns on paper, they're super weak. What's the point of a gun? But I have Ash as a white mage, subclassing as whatever the hunter class is. And I gave her a gun that's super weak, but it casts silence every time I put a silence shot on there. So she's out there just silencing enemies and then using spells when she needs to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It encourages you to try different things, and it makes you want to have certain characters, and like your gambits become a lot more nuanced when you have certain characters that can do things. Instead of anyone can cast haste, you need Vaughn there because he's the only one that's going to be doing it.
Yeah.
It's really a lot better than I thought it would be.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited for you guys to play through it.
Yeah.
So you're saying, okay, so I'm picturing what I played. No, right. It's really boring at first.
Well, and everyone's got the same thing, so the gambits can all be the same. And it's really cool when you're limited. Like, Bosch uses axes in my playthrough. He doesn't have swords, and it's great. An axe and a shield, he just slaying. Balthier with a samurai sword. I don't know. There's also, until you try different things, you don't actually learn what the strengths or downsides are.
Mm-hmm.
Lost concepts for 12. Second player joining the battle they wanted to do, but didn't have time.
It seems complicated.
Yeah, that would be very complicated.
I can't even begin to understand that.
Yeah.
Well, especially if you have gambits set up, then you just have to be like, okay, now use this. Oh, you didn't do it? Fuck you. Like, yeah.
Mm. And I guess I don't know if that would have been online, but it was an age where they could have.
Jesus, I shudder.
Yeah.
And they were thinking of recruiting non-player characters to join in the mob hunts. That's actually something they included in Zodiac Age. You didn't recruit them, but some characters do join you. The music is composed by Hitoshi Sakimoto. He opted to go with his own style instead of emulating Uematsu.
Good for him.
Props, motherfucker.
Good for him.
So music is different in this game because it's created to match each location, so that would provide atmosphere whether or not you are engaged in a battle. There's no, like, you're jumping a battle theme, so you have to really set the tone for a whole environment and the enemies you run into instead of, like...
I like that, though.
It's very cool.
I think that's more interesting to me because having a screen wipe and then going into the battle is always something I never really liked in a lot of JRPGs. It's why I like Chrono Trigger so much. It's just like immediately they just take position and then the fight's beginning and it just fucking rocks.
Sea of Stars was like that too. I appreciated that it just like jumped you right in.
Yeah.
Instead of just watching a 20-minute intro of like the overall camera angles and zooming and scenes.
And then the battle theme usually doesn't change till about halfway through a JRPG. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that used to be how it was. But, I don't know, just keep it the same for the area and then you can have a new one every single time. Maybe you get a vibe off of it.
It's different, too, in that it's not... super catchy melodies. Like there are so many different iconic Final Fantasy songs. Like you think of 7. Every character, every enemy is like the Turks. You can just hear the Turks theme in your head. This one though, it's very much like it's not meant to be in your face. It's supposed to be in the background and causing you to have emotions.
A little bit of a Breath of the Wild thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Initially, I didn't love it back in the day, but I'm like, I was very wrong.
I did miss battle music. I will say that. But at least we got that in some of the cutscenes.
I will say this has the weakest Chocobo song of all the Final Fantasies, but that's also because they're trying to have it be part of the universe instead of we're doing hip hop to Chocobo.
Yeah.
Really? Is that in this one?
No, that's 7.
That was,
remake.
Oh, hip hop.
Carly hates it.
The Chocobo design was definitely it was jarring, when you go back from
They look like terror birds.
Yeah, they do. They look like, like they could F some shit up,
Yeah.
And they're enemies on the field, so you can just choose to kill Chocobos, which is not common in everyone.
No.
Yeah. But their armor looks badass, like everything. They didn't look campy or cartoony like the other, original ones.
Final Fantasy Tactics Chocobos, some mean motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Those
sure are.
That Choco Meteor from the red ones, I was like, I'm done with you guys. I'm like, great, they have 5 Chocobos. This game was all translated by 2 people. And when you think of that scope of script of a video game, Alexander O. Smith and Joseph Reeder, Smith was tasked with writing dialogue to attempt to match pre-existing lip movements. This is that era of gaming, too, where they had to work with the lip movements from the Japanese one of the game. I've also gotten to the point from software games where I don't give a fuck about lip movements. I care about voice acting quality.
Yeah. I actually forgive that now. I think when I was younger, I was like, you got to match the lip movements.
Oh, how am I supposed to watch this beautiful cutscene?
But then it results in shit like Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, where trying to find like common phrases in Japan, trying to find like the way to make it make sense for an English audience is just so stupid. Just come up with something else.
That's why in most cases I prefer just watching it in original translation and subtitles.
I actually play a lot of video games in just Japanese.
Yeah.
Because it makes more sense.
Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima was definitely different because I played it in Japanese, but the lip movements were in English, which that was jarring at first, but eventually you get used to it.
Well, fortunately, all the voice actors in that game fucking rock.
Yes.
Think about trying to play Yakuza with the English voice acting. Ooh. That offends me at my core.
Yeah, the only Yakuza games I ever played was Judgment, and I definitely played that in Japanese because it fit the narrative a lot better.
Did they have an English voice cast?
Yeah, they did.
Seems dumb.
Was it Troy Baker did the original guy?
Oh, really?
I don't know, but
that's insane.
I love you, Troy, but not Yakuza.
Yeah.
Yes. 10% of the script is voice.
Troy Baker does everything. So
deciding on accents was influenced by the voice models as well as certain characters. Vaughn was inspired from Leo from Titanic.
Surprise, surprise.
Makes sense.
Balthier, Aragorn from Lord of the Rings, was an inspiration for his voice.
Okay.
Which I don't get as much.
I don't get that.
I don't hear it, but
Fran was Bjork.
That's so much fucking sense.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
I like that.
Big time.
Yeah.
This also influenced accents for regions. Thus, the Vieira became Icelandic to give their speech an alien quality. To avoid stereotypical Indian accents for Bujerba, a Sri Lankan accent was chosen. Following the rule of Star Wars, the Empire is British and the Rebels American.
It's fun.
Fucking Brits.
Damn redcoats.
Completion and release of playable demo was included with the release of Dragon Quest VIII. Cost approximately $35 million with a crew of more than 100 people. I mean, when you think about how much Joker 2 lost, like, these numbers aren't that crazy.
Well,
it's a different time period, of course.
Also, good reason to pick up Dragon Quest VIII. That's like the best one.
Yeah.
Fuck.
In the days when you could only get a demo by buying a certain game. I know what you're up to.
That was why everybody bought Zone of Enders back at the time, because came with a Metal Gear Solid 2 demo.
That might be why we bought Brave Fencer Musashi, because I think that had an 8 demo.
Or was that...
So. Was that 9?
I think there was a Final Fantasy demo on it. I believe that's why we bought the game, which we ended up loving, Brave Fencer Musashi.
That's a good game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Released 2 years later than planned in Japan, March 16th of 2006. In North America, came out on Halloween of 2006. North American release had 2 versions, the standalone at $50 and the collector's edition at an additional $10, includes a making of disc and a steelbook. I got the collector's edition later on at like a game store for cheap. The
Steelbook looks like in good condition though. Like
a $60 video game.
Oh, and you think Donkey Kong Country 3, like back in the day, was $70 for the Super
I know,
Nintendo.
people are so stupid.
Yeah, when you look at some of these like old Toys R Us ads and see what games cost those days, we're lucky we're still paying $60, $70 for games.
I gotta watch this. Does an Xbox play DVDs?
Yeah.
Okay.
The original Xbox, yeah.
Does
the
Series
original
X?
DVDs?
Yeah.
So does a PlayStation.
It's been a while.
I believe it.
I've never
yeah.
put it. When is the last time I put a DVD in something? You know.
I
Yeah.
actually put in my copy of Meet the Feebles,
Oh, great.
and that's the only way.
Sodomy. It doesn't seem so odd to me.
It's fucking good, man.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about, but this is
Peter Jackson's second film he ever made was a puppet movie in the style of Muppets.
in kind of a horror kind of like
Extreme
showbiz.
X-rated.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fucking good though. There are parts that make you just want to puke by looking at it. And,
Okay.
and it kind of works all
Meet
the way
the
through.
Feebles.
Fucking love that movie.
Some different versions. The International Zodiac Job System released in 2007, August 9th in Japan. Classically, Japan gets their game, and then America gets our version of the game with maybe a few different bells and whistles.
Right.
And then they get the international version, which takes the best of that one and then adds on it.
I've always thought that was so weird though. Every time I've heard about it, it's like all the editions of Street Fighter and all that shit. It always blew my mind. People would keep buying the same game over and over again.
Yeah.
but these ones have different colors in them.
It's true.
Well, with the Japanese one, they named it. They did just want to call it the Zodiac Job System because to them they're like, this is not the international one. This is a different game because we changed the jobs and we changed the license board. But they had to put International Zodiac Job System. This included a trial mode, which is a 100-stage gauntlet. The final trial is facing all 5 judges at once.
Jesus.
I've never fucked with this yet.
No.
New Game Plus is strong mode where all characters start at level 90 and level up normally. There's a new game weak mode, never level up and you're constantly at level 1. There's sped up gameplay in
Wait, is everybody at level 1?
everyone. If you go
Like
for
even
new,
the enemies?
for no.
Oh,
just
okay.
you.
I was gonna say. Wow.
Yeah.
Weak indeed.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the job board can boost a lot of your stats, but it wouldn't be enough to become survivable.
Because
Yeah.
you get like HP plus 500, but you don't get strength plus 10.
No, yeah.
Those are not things on your board. Sped up gameplay. I was surprised to see this was introduced in Japan in 2007 because this is very much a convenience of modern remakes.
Yep.
2 times game speed by pressing L1 in that.
Jeez Louise.
Guests and espers are now controllable. You can use their gambits or espers control them directly. Spells now affect areas instead of individuals. A fire spell will affect a whole area.
Radial damage is one of my favorite aspects of video games. I love it.
Needs to be there.
Yep.
Yep. New gambits, missed abilities do not consume MP. Almost all attacks can break the 10,000 damage limit by default. There's no forbidden chest and 753 more chests. The forbidden chests are, of course, if you want the Zodiac Spear, there are 4 not random, but like 4 chests in the game. If you open them, you cannot get the best weapon in the game for some stupid fucking reason. And the Zodiac job system. So yeah, there were no jobs in the original game. The international system was implemented. Originally planned to have a job system. The idea was scrapped as it seemed like it might overwhelm players on top of the Gambit system. There's 12 jobs with their own individual license boards. White Mage, Ulan, which is similar to a Dragoon, tank, big damage dealer. Machinist, Red Battle Mage, Knight Monk, Time Battle Mage, Foe Breaker, which is tank, heavy armor, shields, axes, hammers. There's the Archer, the Black Mage, the Bushi, which is a samurai, and the Shikari, which is a hunter, daggers, and ninja swords. And I'm curious to see how your playthroughs go.
Oh, okay.
Well, Foe Breaker was Bosch for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it just made sense to give him a shield and a hammer in the game.
He always was my tank.
Yeah.
It's just I didn't want like Vaughn to be doing that.
And I don't want anyone hitting Fran, so she's an archer. Stay back there.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
She's barely wearing armor as it is.
Penelope was my white mage too, for sure.
I like Penelope.
So, yeah.
Despite it being Penelo.
Penelo, whatever.
Penelope.
I'm never gonna get that right.
The Zodiac Age released for PlayStation 4 in July 2017. The Zodiac Age changes, high-res updates for backgrounds, character models, and all 2D elements, high-quality voice audio and 7.1 support, original and newly re-recorded background music options, autosave, God bless, 4x speed added, God bless, transparent overlay map if you want to pull the map over directly. It looks horrible, but it works. And then characters can now have 2 jobs at once. You start with one class and you can subclass.
Ooh.
Fire
White mage and black mage in one.
or white mage with a gun, which sounds like a cool movie.
Yeah.
That's like a Liam Neeson priest with a gun or something. Fire, blizzard, thunder, and cure again only affect a single target. So they took the area of effect out.
Oh,
Interesting. The Steam version, February 1st, 2018, 60 frames per second, ultra-wide monitor support. And April 30th, 2019, Switch and the Xbox and Windows versions.
yeah.
New Game Plus carries over belongings. Boosters and the new game menu portion are not featured. And 60 frames per second on Xbox.
You know, do you think that this game didn't sell all that well because it was at the end of the PlayStation 2 lifespan?
I think it was a harder sell, too. I think part of it is the end of the lifespan. Part of it is that Gambit system.
I mean, a lot of people still had PlayStation 2 at the time. Like,
It's true,
This was, at the time, it was very. I mean, people were looking forward to it. I really think the tonal shift was what threw people off. At least from the people I talked to at the time when it came out, like it was a huge tonal shift between the campy nature of what the previous Final Fantasy games were, besides 8. To like this kind of like really serious, dark, grim, story. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just guessing here at this point that maybe it was the serious tone that maybe threw people off.
Well, I know that a lot of
I
games
think they didn't have as much money to put into advertising as well.
That could be, yeah.
Not like Seven's Super Bowl commercials.
Well, I also
Movie theater trailers.
Crazy.
Yeah.
they should still do that.
They should.
It'd be a great way to get people buying games.
New Halo games, new Call of Duty, fuck them. But any of those like major releases, why not get people excited for them again?
Every time we do a breakdown story of like what's gone on in the news, especially if there's a showcase, and every single time there's a Call of Duty one, we're just like, yeah, no, they rappelled down the side of a building this
So
time.
they're remaking the six version of this one. It's great. This time they broke into a building and shot a person.
It's like,
And guess what? We're bringing Nuketown back again.
whoa.
They're doing the Peloponnesian War this time. It's like, no, it's the same fucking thing every
I
time.
Yeah.
This war takes place in the future.
Call of
though.
Duty Civil War. Give it to me. Make it
Honestly,
work.
that'd be fucking good.
Make it a challenge and fucking do it.
I want to die of lead poisoning.
Make reloading as stressful as it must have been when you're in the middle of a battle and you have to fucking like. It's not.
Oh yeah, maybe more focus on melee. Come on, guys, let's go pitch some of this shit. I'm done,
Dude, Call of Duty Civil War. I'm gonna play it.
Oh,
if
I'd
they
play
make
it.
it, I'm gonna play it.
I would also probably play the multiplayer of something like that.
Yeah.
because Battlefield 1, the World War I one
So
was
good.
one of my fucking favorite first person shooters.
The isolated stories instead of trying to contrive one character moving through everything.
And they're actually like emotionally effective.
Yeah. I mean, you got to play as Lawrence of Arabia in that one.
That fucking rules.
That was
fucking
cool.
riding a horse and getting a
Yep.
train.
Yeah. And just running from tower. I just remember running from tower to tower, just like launching cannons at this freaking train. Pretty cool.
Great game.
My favorite one is The Driver, where it's this guy reminiscing about his days driving a tank, and now he drives for a rich person, and he's like, I don't know what happened in life. I used to kill people and shit.
That's also the one where there's like the hotshot pilot And you find out at the end that he's
rude.
probably made a bunch of it up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, he was.
And I jumped from this one to the other one, which only would happen in a video game, but never in real life. It turns out it didn't happen in real life.
He was actually loosely based on a true story, but the details are kind of muddled because it was a Canadian pilot that cheated his way into the British Air Force. And there's not a lot of evidence to corroborate that story, but there is, a slight hint of truth in that.
Cosmology of Ivalice.
Oh,
yes.
let's hear it.
This is the earliest game in the Ivalice timeline.
No shit, really?
Yes. And we're not going to what we're going to do is lead up to where the game starts and not go past that. The gods in the realm here are the Acuria, a race of undying bird-like beings. They call themselves the Undying. At one point, they used to live among the other races before withdrawing to their own realm. They live high above Guruvegan, beyond the reach of any airships. They actually do live in the physical realm. The passage there is at the bottom of the Great Crystal. They will do whatever it takes to modify Ivalice to their desires, including using phantom images of loved ones in order to manipulate them and sealing away races they disagree with.
Wow.
Classic god stuff.
Yep.
Sometimes they possess other beings drastically to increasing their strength and power, and they can die if they're killed while in possession. Genderless, and they speak as a collective with pronouns such as we, us, and our. Yes.
They just seem like aliens.
Yeah.
Well, any god is alien to a man.
I suppose.
The Espers, the Acuria created 12 scions of light and dark. The dark scions are known as the Lucavi. Later, they would incite the 1,000-Year War in Final Fantasy Tactics.
Oh, okay.
The Lucavi believe themselves to be as powerful as their creators, leading to their revolt. This was led by Ultima. The Acuria threw them down and bound them with glyphs. The Acuria decided to leave the mortal realm. They use a race called the Garif to receive their blessing. Sadly, the Garif are not intelligent enough to understand the blessing. The blessing is also known as the Nethicite. They were ignored by the Garif. Little part about Revenant Rings. Revenant Wings. In this game, we learn of a race of human-looking winged people known as the Aegil. Philothenos, a member of the Aegil, married a Viera, starting a new subrace, which angered the Acuria. Hot bunnies with wings. Mm-hmm. He took his race and flew to a sky continent and sealed his people away. This is when the Acuria retreated to the mortal realm. That's all we're going to talk about Revenant Wings today. But
that's fine.
That happened now. Races in Ivalice.
Yeah.
Humans, or Hume as they're called, 40% of the population.
Yeah.
Second shortest lifespan of 60 years. The Viera, in the game, you can only speak to a total of 31 Viera.
Very rare.
For those with a foot fetish, they have 3 toes.
Okay.
Viera is a Slovakian word meaning faith. Long bunny ears, pointed feet, and long limbs. Generally wear stilettos due to their feet shape, apparently.
Makes sense.
Which I'm curious now. Great hearing, excellent senses overall. Lifespan about 180 years. Reach adulthood around 20, and then aging slows down, maintaining a youthful appearance. Biological sex is determined at birth, but cannot be distinguished until they hit puberty, where it becomes apparent.
Wow, that's weird. So one day tits just show up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I guess I'm a girl now.
I promise you, I'm a guy. And then
That's actually kind of forward thinking. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Males and females live apart, coming into contact with each other periodically, and forbidden to leave their homes, though it is becoming more and more common. When they leave their homes, they lose their ability to speak with the mist in the forest. Mm-hmm. The Benga.
I like the Benga.
Lizard race, long faces, scaly skin, tough limbs. They have
I used a lot of them in the Tactics game.
They look cool. I mean,
very cool.
They're kind of like not your orcs per se, because there's also the pig race, but like they're big, strong dudes.
They're basically dragonborn.
That's a good term for them.
Yeah.
Vocal structure makes it difficult for them to cast incantations. They can't say the spells.
They're not good mages.
Lifespan is 90 to 120 years. If you call them a lizard, it is a racial slur.
Oh, dear.
And I call them lizard race, so...
That's why I call you a monkey.
I don't take offense to that.
Neither do I.
Yeah.
They all come from monkeys.
I'm an ape.
I don't even know. I don't even know where I get my notes. Benga can grow facial hair.
That's interesting. Actually, I never... Okay. I don't think I remember seeing one with facial hair.
But they can.
Oh, okay. They just choose not to. That's just, what the fuck?
They seldom have sex. They seldom procreate.
That's
Kinda
an interesting
Krogans.
point to note, yeah.
What'd you say?
Kind of like Krogans.
Well, I think our Krogan friends are horny as fuck. They just don't have women anymore.
Yeah,
That's true.
They just can't produce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Rex, he's hot to go, Chapel Rowan style when he sees that one, and she calls him a dickhead, like fuck off, bitch boy. He's like,
Yeah.
I am so turned on.
Yeah. Meanwhile, he's got lines of Krogan women lining up at the door, trying to get their way with him.
Yep.
It's a burden.
Yep.
One that I
Muggles.
face every day.
I think the
Like, no,
Muggles.
I'm married.
Rex is like, another one? Oh my god!
It's rough life.
Everyone wants my babies.
He's the man.
Yeah.
Muggles. I think this is one of my favorite Moogle designs in Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Totally.
They're not like dumb little cherubic animals. They're like a sophisticated race that wear clothes and can talk with you.
We know that the Cloud Moogle is your favorite Moogle.
It is amazing. It's the only happiness Cloud has in the entire game.
It's true.
When all of a sudden his brain is turned to Moogle mush, he's happy for once.
It's so dark.
I always like the introductions. I know this is a side tangent, but the introductions of the Koopos in 9, where they were talking to each other. Like, what's up, bro? You're really smart, bro. I know.
And I like that they're like the delivery service.
Yeah.
That is cool.
This, they're actually kind of given more human qualities. They're just hyper intelligent little dudes. I like that.
This game's design is more lagomorphic, which is a more bunny-like appearance. They wear clothing. They're non-dimorphic. Gender can be assumed by clothing. That's a dangerous thing, I think. But the Muggles, you can't tell which gender they are strictly by looking at them. They're 2'7".
Well, they have no external sex organs, so I suppose. Yeah.
I didn't look into Moogle sex organs,
Okay,
but
you didn't zoom in.
Yes, you did.
what I mean to say is I couldn't find any.
Let me see those notes. Let me see those notes.
2'7" to 3'11" tall. They generally can't fly despite having wings, and
Do they count their ears in that height?
Probably.
Okay.
Just like Fran, if you took her ears off, she wouldn't be, and her stilettos off, she'd be a regular height.
Oh,
Instead, she's small.
what a shame.
Yeah. The Seek.
Those long legs.
Story.
I'm just saying.
Give me a climbing hook. The Seek are stout, muscular, pig-like race. Generally, they just cover their lower regions while dressing, unless females, then they cover their boobs. Two genders, pretty distinguishable, not by their faces necessarily, but tattoos denote their social standing.
Cool.
Often treated as lower-class citizens, causing many to turn to a life of crime. It's a self-fulfilling, it's a dangerous circle, you know?
Yeah.
And in the game, you can speak to a total of 70 different Seek.
Oh, wow.
Life is hard in Ivalice.
Now we're getting to the weirder races. There's the Garif, the muscular humanoid race with thick brown hair covering their bodies.
Those.
Despise machinery and material goods like money. They live off the land, always wear masks from the day they are born. They love peace, and they herd livestock. Their milk, the livestock, Nana, their milk allows them to create Nana cheese.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'd have it.
Yeah, I'd try it. Yeah. They're kind of coded as like Native American, like a tribe.
Oh, well.
Yep. The Urutan Yensa, these are enemies generally. They evolved from crustaceans. They're known as the king of the sand sea. Extremely hard hides covered with stiff bristles of needle-like hair, thin bodies that all suffer from scurvy. All of them are wearing clothing except the queens. They can be naked.
Why are none of these races in the other Ivalice games?
It's a great question.
That's just something that popped in my head. Because some of them are in tactics.
Well, maybe they went extinct. They're not like... It's like 800 years apart.
I was going to say, is there
That's possible.
timeline?
Yeah.
I never looked up the timeline. I'm going to do that.
We got it.
Oh, you have it.
Okay.
Yeah. They cannot wield complicated instruments or machines. They speak in an animal-like tongue and have extremely violent tendencies. The Numu, or the Numau, depending on how you say it, they're playable in tactics, advance. They're not in Final Fantasy.
What do they look like? Oh, they look like little
little dog bunny.
Yeah, yep. With the floppy ears.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love them. They're cool.
They all look like mages. You know what's I guess the biggest issue is in Final Fantasy Tactics is there's no Viera, there's no Banga.
I know.
That's the biggest issue. But that's also
Yeah.
a different region of the world. I don't know.
I guess.
The Numu have canine features with elongated faces and tails, average height of 4 to 5 feet, more than 180-year lifespan. Physical appearance is consistent with even the youths looking quite old. Proficient in magic and not suited to physical battle, high IQ. You don't see a ton of these in 12. Generally, you'll see a few like up at one of the temples.
There's a lot of them in Tactics.
I love them.
They're great. They do look like black mages when you get them on the field.
Then there's even weirder races. There's the Beknami. Small stature, green skin and horns. They wear specialized gas masks to filter the air. Goblinish race of early era Ivalice. Powerful and proficient in magic, but not smart creatures.
The Hellgast? Killzone reference. Sorry.
Mostly dangerous. Some can live honest lives, though.
Some can. Only some. The good ones.
Yes. If they overcome their problem.
Baser nature.
The Rev. There's only 3 Revs seen in the entire game.
I don't even recall what these are.
Cat-like humanoids. Sometimes there's just this one cat-looking dude.
Why did they need to add so many of these races?
There's a lot of
It's played by
races.
James Corden.
Oh.
I
Really?
prefer him. No, I wish.
I
Okay.
prefer him as Bustopher Jones, the railroad cat.
I'm Bustopher Jones. The Helgas. They're a humanoid race that resembles the Guado from FF10. Tall with long faces and limbs, communicate telepathically. Only one is featured in the game. He is asleep but still talks with you.
I got to admire that. Like dishing out lore so like piecemeal. That's kind of cool.
It weirds me out when there's just like a cutscene and there's a race that's never seen elsewhere. It's like a completely separate thing. And they're generally playing instruments in Final Fantasy games. Like there's a band in Final Fantasy X, which they're all their own race. You never see them anywhere else.
Yeah, it's like the race of characters from Star Wars that only played jizz.
The jizz music. Love them.
That's the official name, right?
What's this music called, George? It's like space jazz. We're going to call it jizz.
All right, George.
You sure? Okay.
And then they also have semen music. George, I'm in charge. Some important terms for the universe. Mist, it allows... Fuck, man. It's Final Fantasy stuff.
I know.
All the magic and other phenomenon akin to the life stream or the Pyreflies, life energy. The Akuria ooze mist. Certain people fade to mist upon death. Like Pyreflies.
Yeah.
Mist makes the
Star Wars.
Mist makes the Force. Mist makes the Viera frenetic, and the Akuria control people through the mist.
Right? Doesn't she go like berserk at some point?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can fix her.
Yeah, it's fine.
Magicite are magical stones containing a high amount of mist. Many types exist. Essentially, spell stones enabling strong magic. Sky stones power airships. Memory stones hold visions and sounds. Nethicite is magicite that can absorb copious amounts of mist and release it as magical energy, mostly created by the Akuria, but Arcadia has discovered a way to create manufactured nethicite. Deaffected nethicite is too strong to control properly, and manufactured nethicite is weaker and safer to use. This causes the Akuria to turn to the Humes to use it. Wraithwall is one of the only major figures of previous history. One Hume had proven himself by conquering the Gigas Bellius. His name was Wraithwall. He would become the Dynast King and unite all of Ivalice together. He received the Akuria's blessing and would go on to lead Ivalice into a new era. He received the Sword of Kings and 3 pieces of nethicite, the Dawn, Dusk, and Midlight shards, all going to be important in the game. And the sword could cut nethicite, so he also had the power to rid of the power, to get rid of it. Wraithwall conquered many territories and founded the Galtian Alliance, of which Dalmasca, Nebradia, Rosaria, and Arcadia are members. It's weird I actually know what they all mean when I'm saying it right now. Back in the day, I had no idea what the fuck was happening.
Yeah.
The year of the Alliance marks the first year of the Old Valendian calendar, which we refer to as OV. The Light of Kiltia was a religion founded by the prophet Kiltia 2,000 years ago, a polytheist faith system where a pantheon of gods is led by Farum the Father. Kiltia witnessed a vision of the gods and started spreading his faith, believed in an afterlife. Funeral rites asks the Great Father to guide the body's return to the earth and to guide the spirit to the mother of all where it shall find peace. Those with high ranks are forbidden to enter politics.
Cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I wish. The Grand Kiltia is essentially the Pope. It is the one Helgas we find in the game. Ivalice, now we're getting closer to the timeline. 2 of the Nethicite shards were passed on to ruling families of Dalmasca and Nebradia, while the king kept the third for himself. The city-states of Arcadia and Rosaria develop while protected by the peace of the Alliance. In OV 392, the Galtaean family collapsed and the Alliance was dissolved 2 years later. Arcadia and Rosaria become opposing empires.
Okay.
Shortly before FF12, a single Akiria known as Vana deserted Girovegan and allied himself with a Hume of Arcadia, teaching them how to manufacture Nethicite. Arcadia slowly begins a war of conquest, and the Old Valendian calendar 706 Final Fantasy XII starts. The empires of Arcadia and Rosaria are at war. Dalmasca is a small kingdom caught between the warring nations. When annexed by Arcadia, the Princess Ashe creates a resistance movement. And that's where we're going to be at the end of this episode.
It's a shame that we didn't get a 12-2. I would have liked to have seen more expansion in this universe.
Revenant Wings.
Besides Revenant Wings.
Just because you didn't like it.
I just wish there was like a novella.
You know, it was fine.
I want 10 novellas written about Penello.
Me
I
too.
want a 7-series animated series. Yeah.
That's better.
You like that one better?
Yeah, that's much better.
Titled My Name Is Not Penelope.
Where Penello gets...
Are you there?
Where Penello touches a blitz ball and it explodes and cuts her head off.
Are you there, God? It's me, Penello.
Yeah.
I'd watch that.
Yep. What is that smutty book in Elder Scrolls? The Thirsty Argonian? I want the Thirsty Vieira.
Ooh, yeah.
Volume 9, written by Brad.
There's definitely hentai of that out there. You could look
100%, dude. Mm-hmm. You could probably find Banga hentai.
Oh, gross.
You know it's true.
Everyone has a fetish.
Yeah, true.
Scalies.
Yeah. Ooh.
So yeah, that's where we're at right now. If you're listening to this on the main feed, that means I don't know if the other episodes will be available unless you're on Patreon. They might be shortly available depending on how scheduling goes. But if you want immediate access to them, check out patreon.com/hairofthedogcast because if you're on our Patreon, right now there's going to be a break where we all go finish playing the game, and about a month later, we're going to come back and discuss our experiences with the story and the jobs. So if you're on the main feed, check out patreon.com to get immediate access to those. Special thanks to executive producers Ryan Christianick, Kipper, Brian Ward, Jordan Hoff, Phil Wright, Phil Just Phil, Bryant Ross, Kelly Gutowski, Justin Melly, and Imagine Wagon 69420. And Stoy, I know you started a new podcast recently.
Yeah, I want to say I'm like 6 episodes in now. I just wanted to start a podcast where I just talk about retro games. It's called Retro XP. So I'm trying to finalize my craft because podcasting by yourself is definitely something new for me because I'm kind of mostly talking. I feel like when I'm recording, I'm talking to myself, but I'm trying to mimic that there's an audience in front of me. So yeah,
just put a picture of Dylan in front of you and just pretend you're talking to him.
I should.
That way it'll be very personal.
Would that be weird?
That just goes.
I mean, if I start
and it says very good story.
If you start asking me questions and I start answering you, that's when someone should kind of intervene and be like, hey, maybe you just take a break for a little bit.
I don't mind being like a little worship idol for you. You can do that.
Oh, I'm sure you would.
No, it's great. I've been listening to it, and you have the cadence of someone who can handle their own show, which not everyone can. And
I don't know if I could. Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Like I said, it's new to me, and I'm trying to, I was taking a lot of your feedback and trying to kind of, I guess, shortcut, simplify some of the things I'm talking about because I talk about new news of the old retro hardware or. One of the things I talked about in the last episode I had was they got together all the original Resident Evil actors from the original game, the full motion video actors.
Oh yeah, I think I saw a photo of it.
Yeah, Residents of Evil is the YouTube channel.
They found them all now.
They found them all. Yeah, they got a hold of Jill, the person that played Jill Valentine, but she wants nothing to do with anything. So they're just, she's just like, I don't want to interview. I don't want to be known. I just want you guys to leave me alone.
Why not? She can make some damn fine money.
I messaged the voice actor for Fran, and she hasn't gotten back to me either.
That's fine. It's okay.
Vaughn doesn't have a lot of followers, so I think I might be able to get Vaughn on an episode.
Hopefully, yeah.
That'd be fun.
Gideon Emery, though, he's slaying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
he has that very distinct voice.
Gideon
that just
Emery.
Everybody wants. But
Both here. He's like, you're Han Solo. You're the coolest dude I know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, check out Retro XP. Awesome show.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And we're the Raw Dogs.
See you later.
See you later.